The discussion around monetization in full-price games is a hot topic for many people. Gears of War 5 is a new game which has an almost unique monetization structure. Not everybody is happy about it, and it's a bit of a mess. Rod Ferguson, the studio head of the Coalition, has responded to some of the criticisms and fears that the game is going the way of Battlefront 2. But again, not everybody is happy. Here to discuss it with me and to profile everybody is Mr. Henry Cooper.
Hello there.
So first up, talk to us about the monetization and what the problems are with it in Gears 5.
Well, buckle up, because there's a lot of words you're going to have to get your head around, a lot of nouns, because Gears likes playing the noun game, even with its monetization. So it's a classic free-to-play model, but it's in a full-priced $60 game, so just
classic.
Set that up right there. And it's deliberately confusing to encourage you to get lost, and everything's obfuscated, so you'll just pay the money and get through it faster. You know, just I don't care about all this stuff, let me just pay and I'll get what I want.
Shut up and take my money!
So first up, we'll explain Operations. Now, this is their quarterly content update, featuring new characters, new maps, new skins, which are all supposed to be earnable for free, and that's kind of the big free content package which they're justifying the use of microtransactions for. They're saying the microtransactions will bankroll this new upcoming free content, and some Tour of Duty rewards are tied to each operation, meaning they are time limited, so you got to get them in while they're hot. Now, moving on to what the Tour of Duty is, it is their Battle Pass-esque system, which is, again, it's free, and it's updated with each operation, again, meaning that some stuff will be timed to it and then locked out if you can't get it. And it features daily challenges, and you'll have up to 3 at a time, and you can unlock stars, which get you promoted from private through to sergeant, through to captain, blah, 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 all the way up. These challenges can be things like getting 10 wins on X map, or completing 5 chapters of the new game mode Escape, or anything like that.
So in essence, it's additional content, or free as they like to call it, even though I'd say we've already paid for it, but it's extra multiplayer content over the course of the next few months. People got to be happy with that.
You can unlock character skins, which are skins from the campaign, and emotes, which you can use obviously in multiplayer like you could normally, and they're known as expressions. And the thing is that you can pay with iron to get new challenges, because once you've done your challenge, or one of the 3 challenges for the day, you then have to wait about 12 hours, I think, until a new one comes in. Or if you pay with iron, which is a premium currency, which we'll get onto a bit more in a sec, you can re-roll and get new ones straight away. So if you just punch in a load of money, over a weekend you can knock out every challenge, you can get all the stars, you can get all the medals, and then you can unlock the new cosmetic stuff. Now, speaking of medals, these are different things like getting X amount of kills in Horde mode, or dealing X amount of damage in Versus mode, and these are in a bunch of different categories, including basics, weapons, enemies, escape, hive busters, Horde, heroes, versus, and ranked. And these are super grindy. And when I say damage dealt in Versus mode, it means like 1,000,000 damage dealt in Versus mode.
Yeah, it's all designed to keep players playing for the longest amount of possible.
Yeah, and there's about 6 of these challenges per medal, and then once you've got the medal, you unlock that character skin or whatever it is. Now, going back to the in-game currency, iron is your premium currency, which is what you pay real money for in the store. And a tiny bit is meant to be unlockable through the Tour of Duty, but this doesn't happen until the end of the season, so we won't know even how much we get. I've seen some stuff saying that it is a tiny amount, but that's obviously unconfirmed at the moment.
We don't know. And the reason that you do unlock a tiny amount is that so that they can say, well, it's not premium because you can earn some in-game, and that's just their justification for making, the bullshit in-game paid currency. But essentially, because you earn so very little of it, it's essentially, you do have to pay for it.
And your average character skin costs around 1,000 iron, and I think what I read somewhere was that you will earn 100 iron once completing the Tour of Duty, so you're not getting anything anytime soon. There's also scrap, which is gained through supply drops if you get duplicates, and I'll explain supply drops in just a sec. These are used to unlock banners, blood sprays, and some weapon skins, and some executions, which will be available in your menus. You just can't access them, so you just have to pay with scrap, which isn't too bad. Now, supply, this is earned by playing any multiplayer mode and unlocks supply drops. It sort of accumulates kind of like experience, and at the end of a game mode, it'll fill up a little cog circle, and then it'll give you a supply drop. Now, the supply drops are definitely not loot boxes. Definitely not.
100% not loot boxes. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah. We'll just call them supply drops or surprise mechanics. Yep. Whatever you choose.
Now, you don't have to pay for them, which a lot of people will think is fine, but it's a random reward, which to me, that's a loot box.
Yeah, of course it is.
And you don't have to manually open them or anything. They just fill up, like as I said, like your XP does, and then it pops out, and it's like, oh, here's a little extra mark to go above someone's head.
It's a loot box which you can't outright pay for. You have to earn some supply, which you've got to do by playing the game. So there are loot boxes in there, but you don't have to pay for them. So it's a surprise mechanic, but it's all very convoluted and complicated, intentionally so that kind of dissipates the anger towards these types of additional monetization practices, right? They've tried in the past and have not gotten away with bullshit practices. And what all this is them scaling it back a little bit to try and appease the anger and try and make it a little bit difficult for people like me and Henry to describe what the fuck is going on here.
Exactly.
So other people can get upset by it.
What the fuck is it? What the fuck is going on?
Players have a number of problems, obviously, with this. So there's a lot of people just like, microtransactions are bad. What are they doing in full price games? This is bullshit. That's the obvious one. That's one a lot of people will believe. But then there's the arguments that the items in the in-game store aren't worth it. Now, you can get skins for characters, but so far they've been characters that nobody cares about. They're the new characters for the new game mode Escape, which is a fun mode, but these characters aren't anyone players have any nostalgia with. We haven't been playing with them for years, like a Marcus or a Dom or a Baird or a Cole or anything like that. And one of them costs £8.50 in UK money. So $8.50 for a character no one cares about.
Yeah, which is almost 20% of the price of the fucking game to begin with.
Yeah.
And they've got the goal to charge £8.50 for a single skin. That is absolute extortionate. I hate the idea of having additional monetization in games, full stop. But when they're asking for £8.50, fucking hell.
And these items are unique to the store, and you can't unlock those through gameplay. And the ones you cannot unlock through gameplay require huge grinding in order to get through the challenges, to get the stars, and then get your promotion, and then get your character. Well, not even your character, you get your skin. And then the cosmetic skins that are unlockable, they're just repurposed from the campaign in the different seasons, so they're not even really new. Now, personally, I think everything should be unlockable through gameplay, always. You should be able to unlock stuff through completing things like the campaign, or completing Horde, for instance, or doing the campaign on an extra difficulty like Insane Mode, because then it's something to actually brag about, and that's a lot of what these skins are for in online. It's like, oh look, I completed this objective. But if you actually have something that's a proper challenge and you can work for, like doing it on Insane, that seems worth it to me.
Yeah, and also you can just ignore the microtransactions at that point, because if there's some items in the store which you can only buy and you can't earn in game, then that's bullshit, right? You can't ignore it then. It's like, if I want to get this thing that I want, I have to pay real money for it. There's no other way to get it, and that's bad.
And the whole free-to-play stuff is always horrible, in my opinion, and it's not pay to win. A lot of people will say that means you can just ignore it if it doesn't interest you, whatever, but the huge grind for naff items is shit. Now, it's not necessarily totally 100% immoral, because a lot of companies have done it a lot worse, which a lot of people are throwing around as an argument, but it's not player friendly. It's money first, then good content, and it's not good for us as a consumer.
Yeah, I mean, it incentivizes them to make the game more grindy in order to incentivize the purchase of the microtransactions and the XP boosts or whatever. Like, they design this game around the microtransactions in that case. You can't just ignore it, because the whole game is made in order to incentivize. The quality of the game suffers and your experience suffers just so that they can monetize it. That's essentially what it is.
And pay to win is something that is almost going extinct, because it's being replaced by pay to skip grind, and that is certainly true here, but even then it's not quite right, because as I said, certain items are unique to the store and certain items are unique to the Tour of Duty. So if it was 100% pay to skip the grind, you'd be able to buy the Tour of Duty stuff outright and skip the grind by buying it in the store. And it's like they're too afraid to double down on this bullshit model, which systemically does work. It's not very moral or anything or consumer friendly, but it does work as a system. So you've got a mishmash of different horrible broken models that come together to make something that doesn't really gel. It's not paying to skip the whole train journey, it's paying to skip the queue to board the train before everybody else.
There you go. Henry's spoken.
That's so difficult to explain, man. We've had to re-record this because the first time it took so long to explain. We've had to try and cut it down, and it's still really long.
That's exactly what they wanted, the bastards. So, we've had some response from this on the old Twitterverse and everywhere else, and Rod Ferguson is the guy who's made the response, and he's the studio head of Coalition. He's been around for a while. Let's say that he's worked on Gears in the past, and then he left, and he came back in 2014 or whatever. But in response to a since deleted tweet, Rod said the following: "It's not. The majority of content is free and supply drops." So, well, that's nice of you. Free for playing. Well, that's kind of you. I've paid $60, and now you're saying this content's free. That's nice of you, Rod. Sorry, I'll just read. "And in the Tour of Duty medals and objectives, this is way more free content than Gears 4, and with the quarterly operations giving them more free content, including including maps and modes, just getting started. I hate the way he says it's free. I've paid £60 for this. It should be free. It's not I've paid for it already. It's not free. I have paid for this game, Rod. It's not a free-to-play game. Damn it! Sorry, I lost it then a sec. I'm back.
We've got all this content, but you can't get it unless you play for 1,000 years, and then there's even more content coming with our brand new free operations thing. So get ready for more free content that you still can't access because you've still got to do 1,000 hours of content work.
So the next comment from Lee at Nightwolf101. He does have a point, Rod. The game, gameplay-wise, is the best it's been in years, but the pricing of iron and the amount of shit cost is ridiculous. No one cares about blood sprays or banners, characters and executions is what we want. Just my 2 cents. Love the game though. And Rod responds with, and we're learning and improving as we go. That old chestnut. There's no magic wand here. Even small changes take time and create content and design skills and ultimates.
So learning and improving as we go, as if no one's had a terrible microtransaction and monetization model in the past, and we've learned from that. But when he's talking about it takes time to create content and design skills and ultimates, that's referring to new characters, because a lot of people keep saying, oh, I want to play as Cole from Gears 1, 2 and 3, or I want to play as Baird from Gears 1, 2 and 3. And he was tweeting back saying, oh yeah, they're coming, it just takes a bit of time to create them. Now my question is, we don't know how much these characters cost to create in terms of animation and art assets.
Manpower.
Manpower, exactly.
Yeah.
We can't even rationally try to justify microtransactions like a lot of people do. They're like, microtransactions help justify this free content. Well, we don't know how much that free content costs to make and then put out for us. If we did know, then we could really decide if their microtransaction system is worth it, and even then, it's not a conversation we really should be having.
Well, if you think about it in terms of the game itself costs $60, the amount of content that you get for that much money versus the £8.50 worth of content that you get, which is one skin, which is not even 1% of the whole game, and you're asked to pay out around 20% of the price of the game because it's like $10. That doesn't correspond with the amount of money that you're paying. Time to create, we get that, but it's just not worth it. That's why it's so overpriced. Anyway, next tweet comes from Matthias Shields, who said, I'm just scared that our beloved game franchise is going to go in the direction of something like Battlefront 2. I know you guys aren't going to make the game pay to win. The prices and grinding are just kind of ridiculous for people that can't spend that time or money. And Rod responds with, we're learning as we go. This is a completely different economy from Gears 4, removed gear packs, as if he deserves credit for that. So we'll take a little time to work through any issues. Our first attempt is not our last, and we will continue to evolve until we get it right, or continue, what he means there, continue to iterate on it until he can just scale back the monetization to a point where the community aren't quite as outraged, aren't quite as pissed off by it. That's what the balance is these days, the balance between making a lot of money from an egregious monetization models versus pissing off the player base. They don't care about balancing like the power of the weapons and the characters and shit.
They're very much playing the deer in the headlights thing. So, oh, we're going to figure it out. Just give us a bit of time. We're only human. Come on, you've spent ages making games before. You're experienced developers. Loads of people have made bad monetization models in the past. You know what you're doing, and you're trying to be deliberately ignorant. Now, I do think Rod Ferguson seems like a great guy. He seems like he's got his head screwed on straight with what he wants to do with the Gears brand in terms of making it successful and stuff. But then there's this monetization where I'm like, Rod, I've got to call you out.
And the response from the community managers in games when things go wrong are almost predictable these days, and nothing sums that up more than this comment, which was left on the bottom of the review game article by Frager. He quotes himself and he says, my own post from Gears 5 review a couple of weeks ago, I was wrong, it wasn't months. Okay, so his original quote from 2 weeks ago said, in a month or two, after a fair few people have chucked a ton of money into this and the revenue streams start to dry up, and he quotes, we've listened to our customers' feedback and we're changing the battle pass progression, blah blah blah. These things are hard to get right first time, blah blah blah. The community is the most important thing to us, blah blah blah. Everything can be unlocked by playing normally, which pretty much sums up everything, or everything that Rod said in his response. It's so funny that this type of thing can be kind of predicted beforehand, because everybody uses these same types of excuse.
Yeah, we'll have a dodgy monetization system in the beginning, and then all the whales will buy it up, and the absolute devout hardcore fans who won't say a bad word about us at all, they'll pay for all the free content we've got upcoming, and then we'll switch it back to normal progression and we'll play the heroes.
Well, I've got a theory, right? I've got a theory that there are 5 different types of gamers when it comes to monetization in games, right? Listen carefully now, because you will fall into one of these categories almost no doubt, and everyone who's watching, right? So what type of gamer are you? Are you an absolutist?
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Which means you have zero tolerance for additional monetizations. If you are, then you'd be most likely to say something like, there should be no additional monetization in full price games whatsoever, which is exactly what I say on a daily basis. Even when I wake up, that's the first thing that my wife hears.
While you're brushing your teeth.
Absolutely no monetization. So these guys are probably old school gamers who remember how good gaming was pre-internet, and they're probably likely to say something about the good old days when everything was free and unlocked with cheat codes. Obviously, I'm an absolutist? Are you one? Let us know down in the comments. Next up, you might be a sympathist. And so with sympathists, they're the ones who see a benefit from these microtransactions, believe it or not. They're most likely to say something like, they're delivering all this extra content. They have to make money somehow. And these are the guys who most likely used to pay for additional in-game content, like additional map packs or expansions to games. But now they don't have to, so they actually see a benefit from this.
So this is one that I disagree with, because you don't know how much it costs to make any of this stuff.
So they're the sympathists. Next up is the ignoramuses. Now, I can't think of a better name for this, so you just have to be an ignoramus if you are one. And these are the emus of the gaming world, the ones who just ignore stuff. They're most likely to say something like, I'm okay with it just because I ignore it. It doesn't affect me. And they're likely to be old school gamers too, or just someone who's fed up with all the drama surrounding the monetization. And they maybe just like to play the single player portion of games and just want to get on with the game in peace, god damn it. So next up is the condoners, the people who condone or make excuses for these big corporations who make billions of money. And they're most likely to say something like, it's not pay to win, what's your problem? Or at least it's not loot boxes, or it's better than what it was, or it's better than any of these other games. And these are most likely fanboys, and they've got access to their parents' credit card. And last up are the whales, and these guys are like smelling a unicorn fart. Pretty rare. They're most likely to say, well, nothing at all, because nobody knows what they say, because they keep themselves to themselves, probably because they're very ashamed or scared of the abuse they would get if they outed themselves on the internet. And these guys have more money than sense, or they just hate money in general. So those are the 5 categories of a modern gamer, as I have deemed. Which one are you? Let us know down in the comments.
So hopefully our new monetization categories will catch on, but make sure you let us know down in those comments. Leave a like, hit the subscribe button and the bell to stay up to date when we post new videos. If you want to support our content, because we're not a giant AAA publishing game label, so we can't afford everything, go on over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. I've been Henry, he's been Gaz. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.